Stop turtling, use this strategy instead. In this video I'm going to show that you should do instead of turtling to not only not prolong the game but at the same time to keep sustaining the advantage for yourself as well. While at first I was playing this game kinda passively, with the game going on my strategies were becoming more and more aggressive. As of course firstly you need to figure it out what type of players you're playing with, how decent, aggressive or passive they are, what are they willing to do and how emotional they get. So yeah, welcome to another Risk 4-player fixed card game which is being played with public randoms. Settings, alliances on, balanced blitz dice rolls in 60 seconds per turn. So first of all I saw that Africa was the most suitable continent to go for, so obviously I went for it. So I moved out my troops from Brazil from South America, so I could potentially be good buddies with the red player, that he would appreciate my decision to help him out and that he wouldn't be building a huge army next to my border or even consider to directly invade me into Africa as soon as I capture it. I sent the alliance request to him and he accepted it. And another player I sent the alliance request to was yellow. It could be important for me to be allied with him as well since he is my another neighboring player, and not a simple one, but the one who has a very good accessibility to all three of my borders. So while I could guard well against the blue player by putting the majority of troops to the Middle East, and while against red by putting a big army to North Africa, when it comes to the yellow European player, I would have to more or less guard all three of my borders. So as an African player I definitely do not want to be enemies with the European player, so unless I become quite stronger than him, but if not, then by him retaliating and invading me as well, we would potentially end up destroying each other, or putting ourselves comparing to other players into a disadvantage for sure. So not wanting that the yellow player as the European player get the advantage over us, the players who should consider attacking him is red who is the South American player, and the blue player who I guess is going to be the Australian player. For them it would be relatively easy to guard their borders against yellow. And if I saw that both of them attacking and highly weakening him, then as an African player I wouldn't be intimidated to join in as well with it not being dangerous anymore. And well, at least I predicted that the blue was going for Australia. It seems that he has changed his plans to go for Asia instead, as I mean otherwise why did he start adding the troops into it and even crushing some bigger armies of my troops which were there as well. So while I would really like to team up with someone, in this case probably with red against yellow, unfortunately I cannot really do so, with me not even capturing Africa yet, and with the blue player destroying my troops. But yeah, it seems that the red player is backing out from attacking the yellow player anyways. So now even wanting for me to attack yellow it wouldn't be wise to do so if I were doing that alone by myself only. In any case with the yellow player being my ally I think he is the least threat for me as long as I don't attack him. I mean even with him becoming the strongest and having enough troops to safely eliminate one of us, I guess I would probably be the least probable choice. Well, I'm not sure what does he think about the blue player and whether he has the alliance with him or not, but when it comes to red player, I think he is already not appreciated by yellow with him invading yellow into Europe. So I would guess most likely the yellow player would go after red. And to be honest I cannot really believe that the blue player instead of just simply going for Australia, all of this time was focused on wiping the troops out from Asia, most of them being mine unfortunately. But I mean if he is really not considering going for Australia, then with the red player attacking yellow once again, it would make me the most sense to go for Australia for myself. But with that being said the blue player has finally decided to go for Australia by himself with him trading in a 10 troop set, so yeah. Why I mean I wouldn't really like to be in Africa in this current moment because it would make harder to red and yellow to attack each other, or at least for the red player to keep invading yellow, cause the yellow player didn't really have a chance to retaliate. So anyways basically it would not only could stop red and yellow from potentially invading each other, but I would just basically be stuck in Africa to not really do anything besides turtling. As if I invade yellow, then he invades me back so we both end up being in a disadvantage. Or to decide to target red with the yellow player holding Europe would be even dumber, as it would give a huge advantage to him, so unless he would willing to use the troops he gets on our opponents as well. but usually the public lobby players are not really usually looking forward to mutually and drastically team up on someone, so I guess even with the yellow player potentially attacking red, he wouldn't choose that many troops, so with him taking over the advantage it would make the most sense to start attacking him before we even deal with red. So yeah, I think it might be even better not to capture Africa even though I easily could, so it would be easier for the red and yellow players to keep potentially attacking each other. I mean, if I capture Africa, then the red player would be only able to invade yellow from Greenland, but then the yellow player could just start strongly guarding that border, so the red player wouldn't be able to invade yellow assuming he doesn't want to go through my captured Africa. So yeah, what in this turn I decided to do instead, is to crush some troops of the blue player. He was about to crush those Asian troops of mine anyways, and I didn't really want to fortify them to North America, as in case the yellow player starts successfully holding Europe, then the red player might decide to capture North America. The yellow player wouldn't like that, so he would invade red, and then it would encourage them to attack each other even more. But I think the blue player is seriously becoming a problem. While the red and yellow players threat each other as enemies, he could really take over advantage, so I really need to balance him out by capturing Africa. And since he was really focused on attacking me, I think it was the best to put my army in the Middle East, as in case I equally split my army in Egypt and East Africa or even in all three of the borders, then he by trading in a set could invade me, or if just put all the troops in the territory of East Africa without guarding my other borders, then he would have been able to invade me even without having a set. So I think I really found a good solution on what I could do instead of turtling. While the red player is focused on attacking yellow, I could be potentially focused on targeting the blue player. And in case we really stick in a strong alliance, then we could even dominate the game. And to be honest, I didn't really expect the blue player to bail out of Australia at all, but I mean, if he gives away it for me, then I will definitely take it. Even though it will give one troop fewer than Africa, I will still rather prefer to have it, because with the yellow player potentially deciding to strongly guard Iceland, the red player would still be able to invade him through Africa. Or in case the yellow player finally decides to invade the red player as well, then he could go through Africa too. And while the red player's decision to crush an army of the blue player's troops is appreciated, I think I would have preferred if he stick focusing on invading yellow. As I guess my Africa will be invaded anyways. Well, I mean, it's good for me that some troops of the blue player were crushed. But now I might have to help out the red to invade the yellow player, and this is what I don't really like about with the yellow player being my another ally. A strong ally if we look to all his armies, which could potentially even take me out if he gets mad. Well, maybe after all I wouldn't that much mind attacking the yellow player. But another reasoning of me not wanting to invade yellow is the blue player. I would guess he currently dislikes me a lot, so if we firstly eliminate yellow, then my chances to succeed in a 3-player endgame probably wouldn't be that good at all, as looking to the blue player's stats and the moves he made, it seems that he is a low-ranked player who doesn't have that much experience. Well, maybe mostly looking to the stats, as some of his moves could be considered as decent, but I would guess maybe they were more made unintentionally rather than having some strategy behind. For example, while the red player was attacking yellow, he was focused on crushing the troops of mine, and it can be a very smart decision to focus on the neutral player to have a 3-player endgame with the players who are enemies to each other. But I guess instead of having that in mind, he wanted to actually go for Asia. Also, comparing to other complete low-rank players, he attacks very fast as well. But getting back to the main point, what I have in mind by him not having that much experience at all, is that he probably doesn't really know about the balance of the game much, and most likely would go with the emotions when it comes to attacking someone. So in a 3-player endgame, I would guess he would want to focus on and eliminate me, whether he gives away the game for the 3rd player or not. Sometimes it can be seen that low-ranked players will prefer to destroy their enemies or whichever players they don't like the most over winning the game. I would say either that or that some of them might be too less experienced to even understand that. But whichever the case is, you don't want to leave a low-ranked player who is really mad on you in a 3-player situation. And another thing is, even with not completely taking the yellow player out but weakening him a lot, the blue player could end up being quite stronger than me, so then he could just decide to simply destroy me, and then I would be the first player to get eliminated from the game without even me reaching the stage of a 3-player situation. And while I don't want to end up being in a 3-player situation with blue, the red player probably wouldn't like to end up being in a 3-player situation with yellow. He was invading the yellow player a lot, so when it comes to talking about the diplomacy, it would be really unfavorable for him to have the yellow player in a 3-player endgame, as the yellow player being very annoyed could even decide to suicide on him. And the suicidings in the public lobby games are happening quite often. So as you can see even right now, the red player was probably afraid of the yellow player potentially suiciding or crushing a lot of troops into him, as the red player refused to invade the yellow even with yellow not being able to properly guard Europe. And actually it probably was a smart decision, as otherwise with the yellow player getting so much mad the red player could have risked getting the 4th place, but now since the yellow player wasn't invaded, the yellow player just continued focusing on guarding Europe instead of crushing his army into the red player's troops, might even having an opportunity to completely take him out if Blitz rolls lucky enough. Well, what I didn't expect is for the yellow player to suddenly turn on me by starting capturing these Asian territories of mine instead of the blue player, or just simply attacking one territory of mine and that's it. Even though we haven't really done much together, I still thought that we might be good allies. But since he started targeting me as well, I guess it makes the most sense to treat the red player as my best ally. So while all this time I wasn't that much really sure whether I should prioritize red over yellow, or yellow over red, now I know the answer. I think the yellow player could have been influenced by blue. The blue player said well played to the yellow player when he recaptured red's invaded Europe, and since I mostly focused on attacking blue, the blue player could have sent the attack request to the yellow player to attack me in case they have the alliance. But either way now I know for sure what I want to end up being in a 3-player situation with the yellow and blue players the least. Also another reason for me to choose the red player as an ally over the yellow player is because the red player is actually making a lot of attacks. He really cares about the balance of the game by attacking the strongest player who by holding Europe would get the biggest amount of troops of us all, while the yellow was more about turtling player all this time. Of course he captured some more of the territories of other players from time to time, but haven't really seen him invading another player into his continent or even crushing some bigger army of another player outside that player's continent, so maybe unless if he is recapturing Europe, but if not, then he won't take down some bigger army of another player or crush some more troops into another player even when he has the most of troops. So I guess the game would really stalemate with the yellow player not being one of the weakest players in a 3-player situation. Even the blue player doesn't seem to be as passive, having no continent at all and being the weakest player of us all. So anyways, even though I was very hesitant to help out the red player to attack the yellow player at first, now I'm helping out the red player a lot. All in all it makes the most sense to target the strongest player or the one who can become the strongest by holding the biggest continent or continents anyways. So while the yellow player is as strong as me or red, it would still make the most sense to target him. And another thing why I couldn't really seriously attack the yellow player before, because the blue player could have been an issue for me by me ending up weaker than him. But now when I kept dealing with the blue player well, I can afford help out the red player to attack the yellow player as well. And this is what I think you should be looking forward to do instead of turtling. You should help out another player to attack someone. You should seek to have a mutually beneficial alliance with that another player, and by working together try eliminating your opponents from the game, or if you cannot afford taking them out, then at least prevent them from holding continents and then turn by turn weaken them even more. So by trying to do all of that instead of turtling, you will not only prevent the game from a stalemate situation, but also you and your ally will guarantee having the advantage for yourselves. So far I would probably say that it's the most efficient way for smart players to play when it comes to fixed card games. So it's just too bad that the red player has stopped showing as much initiative to attack the yellow player as before. Some players will attack someone instead of turtling when it's needed for the balance of the game, but after that they can get back to the turtling state once again. Or some players, by seeing that you're attacking a lot, will stop attacking as much, thinking that you would be dumb enough to do the most of the dirty work while they would just be only casually attacking from time to time. I'm not saying that I necessarily apply that to the red player, as actually he was the one who attacked in the beginning of the game the most to prevent the yellow player from being quite more stronger than us, while I at first was mostly neutral and then mostly focused on attacking blue. But what I'm saying that this is what could potentially happen with decent players in the public lobby games who seem to be smart enough to know much more than just hurdling, but who at the same time would still not team up with you as seriously as they could when it comes to destroying your common enemies to potentially guarantee having a good advantage together with you. So by seeing that the red player has stopped attacking yellow, I decided to encourage him once again. I told him to attack the yellow player, sending the thumbs up and thumbs down emojis indicating that I want to ask him whether he wants to team up with me on attacking yellow, but only then when I started to move with my army he said to attack the yellow player. And that was still good because it let me know that he would still like that the yellow player would be invaded, that they probably haven't suddenly end up having the alliance. But actually what happened after I invaded yellow is that the red player, instead of seriously attacking the yellow player as well, he just ended up of capturing one territory of the yellow player instead of crushing one of his armies as well, or at least attacking some more than one bizarre one-troop territory. So maybe I could assume that the red player understood all of that as a question whether I should attack the yellow player into Europe alone, or maybe that he is only willing to attack the yellow player when yellow holds Europe, but when the yellow player is invaded once again, then he won't really consider weakening the yellow player. Or maybe besides them potentially making the alliance with each other, another reason I could think of is that the red player maybe just wants to trade in a set firstly. But all in all, currently I don't really consider it being as mutually beneficial alliance between me and red when I keep invading yellow into Europe, while the red player ends up capturing only one or two random territories of yellow. I invaded the yellow player twice in a row now, so actually now I'm expecting the next invasion to be made by him, as besides that he will be stronger than me now. So while I wouldn't that much mind to invade yellow even multiple times if I were much stronger than red, now with me already invading yellow twice in a row and with the red player becoming quite stronger than me after he will trade in a set, now I want to see some serious action going on when it comes to attacking yellow from him as well. As all in all, he didn't just ignore my attack requests. He responded to them by telling me to attack the yellow player as well. And nice, the yellow player has actually tried attacking the yellow player for real, so he just got an unfortunate blitz roll. That's actually fine that he didn't proceed to potentially invade the yellow player with his other army. That of course would have been great, but I understand that he doesn't have to do more than necessary. After making the attack he got back to my troops level and that was enough for me. So this is why I won't hesitate to invade the yellow player from Greenland at all, or in case the yellow player puts some more troops into it, then I will either manual roll or just simply crush my newly gotten troops into his guarding army. But as you saw, the yellow player didn't, so I've got to invade him easily. So my only worry now is that the red player could potentially decide to expand to North America and take the advantage of our mutually beneficial alliance. I mean, if by getting more troops he will continue wasting more troops on our opponents, then it will still be mutually beneficial alliance even with him getting more troops. But if he doesn't, then he will just be taking the advantage over me. So we will actually see how it will go. He's just sent me thumbs up, so I assume it might still be good, but taking into the account that it's the game which is being played with public lobby randoms, actually I wouldn't really put that many hopes. So while I will still be good with him no matter what for now, I could be forced to betray him later on though. As if with the yellow player not having Europe anymore, he will just decide to turtle instead of weakening either yellow or blue, then I will be forced to betray him by invading him by myself if nobody does. Well, actually if he decides to just simply gain the advantage without doing anything, then it could practically be considered as betrayal more from his side. As if after all those mutually beneficial attacks he just decides to try taking all of the advantage for himself, then it just won't feel right. He sent me the attack request to attack the yellow player and I mean that's fine, I will send thumbs up for him, indicating that I will still want to team up with him. But by starting to have and get many more troops than me, he better make some serious attacks by himself first. By me ending up quite weaker, he would better not expect for me to keep weakening the yellow player as much as I did before. As besides that, the yellow player is pretty much the only hope who could actually be able to invade the red player besides me, as the blue player seems to be mostly enjoying capturing the territories of mine, so I don't put any hopes into him at all. And with that being said, if I still decide to attack yellow, it shouldn't be anything drastic, as if I annoy him too much, then he might just not invade the red player at all. So I need to be very conscious here as well, and not to end up being manipulated probably that easily as the red player would like to hope so. But yeah, pretty much everything has been solved now, with the yellow player invading red into South America and even taking it from him. Yellow might even end up invading red into North America as well. The yellow player is actually more the red player's problem now. The red player could have stayed in South America instead of taking over North America, so he could have stayed in the alliance, which would have been not only mutually beneficial but equal as well. But now if I decide to invade yellow into South America or crush his European army when the red player was trying to hold both of the Americas while not really using the troops on our opponents, but mostly trying to guard his borders and potentially even turtle, it would just be the worst decision to try messing up with yellow, especially when he has his biggest army on the red player's border. The red player after all didn't show me enough initiative to change my mind and help him out attacking yellow when red was having much more stuff, red having more troops than me. Instead of crushing some into yellow, just sent the attack request to attack yellow by myself. Then the next turn the yellow player actually invaded red into South America, so after all we didn't get to see whether the red player having both of the Americas crushed some more troops into the yellow player, but by seeing how he plays, I would really doubt he would done so. So now for me is the best to keep focusing on blue while keep the yellow player for red. And yeah, with the yellow player invading the red player into North America while not even hesitating to crush so many troops, now I'm definitely not targeting the yellow player. By clearly seeing that the red and yellow players will be the biggest enemies, now I just need to finish my journey of eliminating the blue player. If I eliminate the yellow player, then the red player should get the advantage over me, while if I eliminate blue, then I should get the advantage in a 3-player endgame over red. I'm talking the diplomacy-wise of course, but that diplomacy-wise can actually be more than enough to decide the end of the game. Probably the lower ranked players you play with, the more accurate it could be. But yeah, I think it would just be dumb by having an opportunity to get rid of one of the players to decide eliminate any other player than blue. So I'm sorry blue, but I guess I have no other choice. If I eliminate yellow over you, then with the red player recapturing both of the Americas I will have to do all the dirty work invading the red player by myself, and then with the red player being my another enemy, I would probably have the least chances to win the game and most likely would get eliminated first. So yeah, by taking another look at the troops counter, by seeing how many cards I and other players have, and by trying to take into the account the whole situation on the board, I think it's completely safe to take the blue player out from the game. Unfortunately from that I see I cannot additionally take another player out to have a decent endgame with another one, but I think it would just be a bad idea to put all the troops to Australia to make all of my troops on Siam blocked, as after all the red player could potentially decide to take out yellow and use the 4 continents endgame strategy against me. So while I still put my 15 troops into a blocked place in Africa, I knew that they would be unleashed anyways, or if not, then it would just be generous for the players to let me hold Africa. I guess either way would be fine. But yeah, with the red player deciding to go for yellow and with my African army getting unleashed, I think there's no way I lose the game. I think it was a huge mistake for the red player to take out yellow, as now the game will totally belong to me. And that's what I call a great decision to decide which player to eliminate. If I eliminated yellow, then I doubt the red player would have decided to eliminate blue. But with me keeping the yellow player alive, it was pretty much expected that something between them happens that makes me win the whole game. Actually I thought that we will play a bit longer, but with the red player giving me away the game I cannot really complain. So I'm just not sure if the red player just wanted to destroy his biggest enemy yellow and finish above him, or he actually thought that he would be having decent chances against me in the endgame. As I think my advantage is clear. So now I just need to figure it out what's the best way to finish him off. But yeah, I mean I won either way. Nothing much to comment. If you guys enjoyed watching this video, then I would recommend checking some of these out as well.